Hey everyone, if you click this guide, you're here to learn how to play Syndra support like I do. I have a 70% win rate on her on my 300 LP master account, so hopefully this guys will help you out. If you don't know who I am, I'm Doglightning, a challenger neeko support main, and like, comment on the video to help support, and let's begin. Okay, so to start off with the runes, there's one rune page I run all the time, and this is it, but I'll show you some variations if you want to play more for a lane heavy build. So Glacial Augment, I've been loving this rune on Syndra. It's super underrated. You really need to think of what you're doing as Syndra support. You are looking for engages or peeling with your stun, and the Glacial really helps. If you find a big stun in the mid game, and it applies Glacial to the whole enemy team, this will allow your team to follow up on that pick and start a team fight, where if you don't have the Glacial, a lot of the time, that enemy will be able to flash out, run away, his teammates will be able to help him. So I really like Glacial because it really just empowers Syndra in this way that makes her really viable. So with the Glacial page, I like to run the free boots because I really just want to be getting as gold efficient as possible. Syndra really needs these item spikes with gold, and getting 300 gold for free in your build is really good. But if you think you're going to be building Zhonya's in your game, it's okay to go stopwatch, and that way you can get the boots for early roaming and still be saving almost 300 gold in your build. After that, I go for the biscuit delivery because I'm trying to just be able to spam spells in the early game and just pressure the enemy, and this gives me mana whenever I'm low. I can pop a biscuit to get mana back. Finally, I get Time War Tonic because I run the free boots, which means that I am a bit more immobile in lane, and if I'm about to get ganked or something, I can pop a potion for the move speed to try and run away, and just that extra move speed really helps. But if you want, you can go for Cosmic Insight. The reason why I feel like it's not that needed is because Syndra isn't really flash reliant champion. Usually Cosmic Insight is really good for flash reliant champions. If her flash is on cooldown, it's not a big deal, so I prefer Time War Tonic. And finally, in the domination tree, I take Zombie Ward plus Treasure Hunter. Zombie Ward because, again, we're just trying to get enough AP to one shot, and 30 AP is a lot, plus vision control. And Treasure Hunter because, again, Syndra has some really expensive item spikes, and I'm trying to hit those. Now, if you want to play for a more lane dominant build, I have two other pages you can run, but before we get into those, you can also use the same page with First Strike to, again, just be playing a bit more aggressive in lane and trying to make more gold. But I seriously recommend Glacial. Now, for the more lane dominant, if you want to just be really aggressively trading with your lane and trying to get a really early lead in lane, I recommend going a Comet page like this. Let me just set up really quick. I would recommend a Comet page like this. Because your Q is a very low cooldown, 4 seconds, you can keep plying Comet and Scorch on a very quick timer and really just get an early lead in your lane and just snowball out of control and hopefully win the game. But again, I think Glacial is better than this page, but this is a very good page if you want to go for that. And on the flip side, if you want, this is for trading on a low cooldown, just constantly hitting Qs on the enemy at their close range. If you want to play for the all-in burst, I would recommend a page like so. A page like so, where again you are still saving the same amount of gold as the Glacial page, but now you're getting that all-in burst when you hit a root and you go all in. So yeah, to recap, I think Glacial is the best. It really empowers your stuns to slow the enemy and help your teammates follow. Another thing I didn't mention about the Glacial, by the way, is when you hit your Q and then E stun them, because of the Glacial slow, it almost guarantees you land your next Q on the enemy. So being able to guarantee land your next Q actually has a lot of damage in your kit, where if you don't have the Glacial, you could miss your next Q and lose that damage. So yeah, Glacial for just consistency and pick. First Strike if you want to just really play for gold gen. Electrocute for burst all-ins, and Comet for a very hard trading lane. Okay, so now for the item section. So to start off, obviously we want to go Spell Thieves on her because she's a mage trading support. But we have our early core. So if you are running the build that I recommend, you'll be getting your free boots. So you'll be rushing these early core items. I almost always, basically on my first pack, I'm usually getting Dark Seal, Amp Tome, and maybe a refillable potion as a usual first back. And I can come back to lane with just a lot of bully power. But in general, you want to be rushing these 3 core items. And I'll tell you why, is for the mythic items. So for the mythic items, you can see that the mythic items we're going for are Mandate, Everfrost, or Crown of the Shattered Queen. All 3 of these build from Kindle Gem, Amp Tome, Kindle Gem, Amp Tome, Kindle Gem, Amp Tome. So by rushing this early spike of Amp Tome, Dark Seal, then your next back, Kindle Gem, you're really leaving yourself open to picking between these 3 mythics on whatever suits your game that you're going for at the moment. So before we get into the mythics though, and which you should choose in which option, there are 2 boots options, and then I put this as an option because it's at the very end of your full build you can replace. So I usually right now have been going Ionian boots because they're cheaper and it makes it so that you can just have your stun up more often and more consistently. But if you're in a lower elo, which most of you probably are, I would say Sork boots are better because you're just looking to one-shot off your combo and it'll give you more one-shot. But just know Ionian boots are also a good option because they are cheap and they give you lower cooldown on your E. You can see it goes right now from a 10.77 seconds, right? And it was a 12.77. So you're reducing it by 2 seconds, which this is your main spell, and having it off cooldown is a really big deal. So I usually go CDR boots, but both are a good option. And if you do end up being full build, I do think that selling your boots for a Cosmic Drive later is okay. It gives you move speed, it gives you CDR, health, all this good stuff. Obviously, you'll be a bit slower, but at that point in the game, it's not usually as big of a deal. So, yeah, very late game, you can sell your boots for a Cosmic Drive if you want. Now, for the Mythic option. So, you might be surprised why I put Imperial Mandate as an option. The reason I do is because it actually is really good. People don't realize how good this item is. It gives you 15 AP as a Mythic Legendary. So, as support, you usually have your Spell Thieves completely upgraded by the time you finish this, which means you're actually getting a bonus 15 AP off this. So, you're actually getting 55 AP for 2,500 gold, which 55 AP for 2,500 gold is a lot. Like, this item right here, the Crown of the Shattered Queen, is giving you 60 AP, right? For 2,800 gold. Sorry, I have the components, that's why it's messing up. 2,800 gold for 60 AP, right? And its mythic bonus is, like, obviously you have the shield, you have it up, you get a bit more, but I'm just saying it's very efficient for the AP for what it gives. It's very cheap, early spiking, allowing you to get your Shadow Flame spike quicker, and it's because it specifically has a really good interaction with this build. So specifically, I only would run this if you have Glacial. If you don't have Glacial, you don't want to run it. So how Glacial works is when Glacial applies, it actually applies Mandate on everyone Glacial hits. So if I right now stun this target here, you'll see Glacial hit these two and apply Mandate on 3 targets. So I like this, and boom. Well, okay, my Glacial didn't hit him, but if an enemy even late walks into it in the middle of a fight, it'll also apply the Mandate. And you can see they had the Mandate proc, and I proc 2 instances of Mandate there. If your ally hits someone who has Mandate on it, they get a 20% move speed and a big burst of damage. So it means that in these team fights, you can really just be applying a crazy amount of damage with a single Mandate spike. You go like this, you hit, you have applied Mandate, your team goes in and procs that and gets move speed. And again, it's just playing off the fact that as Syndra, you just want to be looking for really long max range stuns that engage a fight. So Mandate will be your actually highest DPS mythic you can run. People don't realize this, but if you hit your proc and an ally breaks it, it does as much damage as a Luden's proc. So it's doing as much damage as a Luden's proc, except you can do it AoE for your whole team, and it's very cheap compared to Luden. So Mandate's super good. Now, this is what I would usually run if my team has like frontline or anyone who can set up, right? And my job is just to DPS. If my team has no frontline and there's a lot of divers, Everfrost is a really good option. Just having the ability that, say I go over here and I completely whiff my stun and miss, I still have Everfrost hit my target, right? Or on top of that, if I completely miss my stun, right? Okay, well, whoopsies. Whoopsies, I forgot that my E procs the Glacial. So if I completely miss my stun in Glacial, I still have my Everfrost that can apply the Glacial for the team. So really good option if you don't have a front line and they have a lot of divers. And again, if they have an assassin who you think is just going to be targeting you, Shattered Queen is an okay option. I usually wouldn't recommend Shattered Queen, but if you do end up going Shattered Queen, I would probably almost always say that you're doing it because say you have 10 stacks Dark Seal already, you get Shattered Queen into Magi's, into Zanya's. This is a really good option because you don't want to be losing your Magi stacks when the enemy kills you, so having, you know, the Shattered Queen plus a Zanya's will help protect your Magi's, so that's definitely a good combo if you really early on have a ton of Dark Seal stacks and want to convert into a Magi's. That's a good option. But for most games, I usually am just going CDR boots into Mandate for 2 really cheap items and to start spiking really early. After that, we're going for our legendaries. Most of the games, I almost always go Shadow Flame. Even if there's lots of assassins who are going to kill me, I really try not to go Zanya's. Again, if you're going to go Zanya's as your second item, you're probably, like, you're not going to, because you're only going to go Zanya's if you upgrade your Magi's and then get it third. Or you're going to get Shadow Flame and get it third. You usually don't get it second just because you really want that spike. This is going to give you like a huge DPS spike, and it's pretty much mandatory second item you're almost always going to get. And then you're going to fill in your next slot with, usually you can either go for a defensive, so Zanya's, or Banshees, or if you aren't feeling too pressured and you want more DPS, you can go for Rabadons, or you can go for a Void Staff. I almost never would recommend Wardstone on Syndra support, but you can if you want. But yeah, a usual normal build for me would usually be, I get these items, and then I usually get a Zanya's, then if I don't, I can either upgrade to Magi's, or if I have no stacks, I can get like a Rabadons, and then I'll sell my boots for a Cosmic Drive, and this will be usually my full build for Syndra support. So yeah, hopefully that helped. Hopefully I didn't go on too long with that build, and we will now go into some combos in ability order. Okay, so for combos and ability order, to start off with ability order, I put a point in my Q, E, W, then I put 2 points Q, but I stopped there and I maxed my E first. So one thing you need to know about Syndra is that each of your spells upgrades when you max it, and you can see it in your passive. So when you max your Q will do 25% more damage against champions, which is obviously very good. But I don't max Q because it's not your damage job to be doing DPS. Your W will give you 20% more true damage on your W. Your E will increase the width of your stun by 50%. This is the ability I max first. I always max my stun first, and your R will give you more range. So the reason I max my stun first is because primarily your job as Syndra support is to be landing max range stuns, which apply Glacial, and your team can engage off of them. Increasing your stun's width by 50% makes it easier and more consistent for you to land stuns, and that's why I max my stun first. Also, actually, your stun does more damage per level, and since usually for mid lane you're maxing your Q because you're poking with your Q and you're farming with your Q and you want your Q to be max, but as a support it's not the same thing. You're usually just lobbing out stuns and your ADC is going off of them, so your Q's usually not even getting hit. If I'm going for this target, right, I go like this and E, well, the Q didn't even hit my enemy. My Q hit here, so putting points in your Q, you're losing that damage. It's the E that's doing all the damage. Your E actually goes up by 30, 40, 45 damage per point, and your Q goes up by 35. So your E actually gives you more burst than your Q. So if you think about the fact that you're starting the fight going like this, boom, right? You go in and land 1 Q. So far, if you were maxing Q, you would have done 10 less damage. Only by your 3rd Q will maxing Q do more. So if you're starting your fights by QEing, it'll take 3 Qs before you out damage 1 point in E. So that's a lot of gibberish, but short answer is max your E first. It gives you easier way to land stun, more burst in lane for one shots, and it's just really good. Now for some combos. So as you just saw, your main combo is you just land your stun, your ball, and throw out a stun. You just Q. You can even leave it for a while, wait, and then throw your stun off of it when you are ready. You can also Q an enemy, and you can pick up your ball with your W, and then you can throw your W and stun. Now what can end up being a really cool combo is you can end up Qing an enemy, right? You pick up your W, and then you can WQ and throw out 2 balls at one time and end up stunning 2 targets. So what that would look like is, say I went in and I landed a Q, I could pick up my Q with my W, right, and I could QE and end up stunning 2 targets at one time. Really important. Now the final part of Syndra's combos you need to know is that your ulti, you see here it says 3. Every time there's an orb down, it goes up by 1, right? 1. And I think it goes up to a maximum of 7, although you won't get there very easily. Basically, that's the reason why I like the CDR boots, is because you can get this up. Your ulti will do more damage per orb you get. So if you just walk up and throw your R right now, you'll see I did 1300 damage. If I do the same thing right now, 1300 damage, and now it's going to go to 27. You can see that I just did over 1,000 more damage by having orbs. So this will lead to, how do you get lots of orbs? So what you want to do is, usually when if you're camping a bush and someone was coming up, you would start queuing the bush on cooldown, right? And then when the enemy comes up, you would W the old orb that you picked up. E, now I have 6 orbs down, and I would go. So again, one more time so you know, you put an orb down, right? You wait. You put another orb down. When this orb's about to disappear, you pick it up, you throw it, put one more Q down, and R. It was on cooldown. But then you R, and you get all 3 of the orbs. So that's how you get maximum damage out of your R, by trying to get as many of your orbs down as possible and using your W to refresh orbs. Finally, the last combo, actually, one that I very rarely use, but it's actually a really good combo that I just haven't found situations to use that often, is you can R first to put a bunch of orbs on the ground, and then you can stun off of that to get big stuns, right? So again, I could actually start off by doing the same thing, right? I put a Q down, right thing, W, I can R, now I have a ton of orbs on the ground, and I can throw them out and get a big wide stun. So yeah, these are the main Syndra combos, and I'm going to give you guys a quick couple tips. So in lane phase, one thing that you have to play on Syndra is you need to be trading really aggressively. So your Q level 1 is a 4-second cooldown. Usually the enemy's cooldowns are about 12 seconds. So say you go in level 1 and you trade hit for hit, and Nami, say you're facing a Nami W's you there. What you need to do is 4 seconds later go in and hit her again, right? 4 seconds, go in and hit her again, and you can get 3 orbs off in the time she got 1 W off. So you need to be trading really, really aggressively. Once you hit level 2, you're usually trying to, obviously if you have to land max range, you'll go for max range, but if you can, you want to try and land the Q on the enemy and stun through to get maximum damage, so your ADC can go on. And then finally, when you hit level 3, the same thing, you're doing the Q, E, you pick up the orb with your W, drop it, and ignite, and trying to go for kills. And really, that's all you're doing in lane phase now. At any point, what you're doing is, if you see the enemy walk into a position, you ping ADC that I'm going in, and you just land your stun, right? Pick it up with W, throw it, Q again, ulti, right? And you're just looking to one-shot enemies if they overextend. So that's basically how you're playing the lane phase. Once you get to team fight phase, it's really the same thing. So again, if it was team fight phase, all you're doing is you're just trying to be a threat at any point. If the enemy walks up too close and you can lob a stun in, because of the glacial, he's going to be having a hard time getting away walking through the glacial path. If he had allies, the glacial would have gone towards allies in the path, and they're all having a hard time getting away too. You would just be going in and landing a stun, right? And look at, I just applied Mandate and Glacial to their whole team, and my team can follow up. That's if you're trying to look for a fight to start. If the enemy team has specific things you want to pick, this is where Syndra really excels, in my opinion, is she's really good at peeling, like, mobile champions, like Akali, Kayn. These champions who can just dash all over the place, your stun is super good. If a Kayn all of a sudden comes over here and you just stun him, amazing. He can't do anything. Also, the last thing that I forgot to mention before we end up this video is a really cool thing about Glacial is it applies off your E, so you don't have to actually land the Q and the stun. Say you throw your Q here, and then you throw your W over here, and then you Q again, and all of a sudden this guy jumps in your face. You can just E him off yourself and applies Glacial and run away. You don't actually need to hit a stun to apply Glacial. All you have to do is E an enemy. So if someone dashes in your face and your Q is on cooldown and someone dashes in your face, you can literally just knock them away from yourself and walk away as their Glacial slowed. So yeah, Glacial is really, really OP, and I definitely recommend it. Again, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps. Appreciate the supporting the channel, and hopefully it didn't go on too long. Catch you guys next time.